Ladies and gentlemen, what is up, Buffalo fanatics? Z-Bot, Rico and Bot in the afternoon, powered by BetUS. The wait is over, folks. The 2024 NFL season has officially started, and it started with an absolute classic
banger
in Kansas City last night. 27-20, your final from Arrowhead, and it very well could have been a different outcome, Rico. They say it's a game of inches. They are not kidding. Isaiah Likely, if he had a size 11 instead of a size 12, John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens would have been going for two in that situation for the W. Instead, it doesn't count. The Ravens get out of there with a loss. The reigning Kansas City Chief champions get out of there with a W. We'll talk about that game right off the bat. And, of course, we are 2 short days away from mother effing Buffalo Bills football. I cannot wait. We are about 48 hours to the minute, Rico, from the Bills kicking off in Orchard Park against...
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We have officially arrived to the start of the season. Game 1 in the books. Game 2 tonight. Eagles, Packers. That should be a good one. I think Jordan Love is going to have a big-time year, and I'm looking forward to it. But the big game was yesterday. Last night, the Chiefs, reigning Super Bowl champs, are ready to roll into the season and get that third Super Bowl in a row. They're trying to go for the three-peat, and who better to place them against than Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, right? The team that a lot of folks believe that are contending for the Super Bowl Lombardi Trophy. They got a guy that's got 2 MVPs under his belt. One, I would say, has an asterisk. Y'all already know what I'm talking about. Here they go clashing last night. But you watched the game. You watched it closely. Your initial thoughts. Your initial thoughts on seeing how the game developed. Your initial thoughts on the stars of the game, the highs and the lows. What stood out to you last night?
Well, what stood out to me is the 2 stars of the ball game were 2 players that are on the Kansas City Chiefs on the Buffalo Bills dime. That's what stood out to me the most. If you noticed, after the game, who'd they interview? Patrick Mahomes, and you guessed it, right off the bat, as many of us predicted, because, of course, this is what would happen. Xavier Worthy. Kansas City Chiefs a season ago, Rico, they had 4 touchdowns of 20-plus yards. Last night, they had 2 touchdowns in one game of 20-plus yards, both coming from the rookie, Xavier Worthy, the player that the Chiefs traded with the Bills. They traded up into the first round. Nobody saw that coming. Brandon Beane trades back into the second. He takes Keon Coleman in the second day. But the last time that we really went at it, right, you, me, and Pierre, the last time that we had this chat jumping, people were on one side of the fence or the other.
Oh, yes.
When we were discussing the morals that go into trading with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I had said that I wouldn't give the Kansas City Chiefs a water bottle if they were crawling around the Sahara Desert. And here comes the Buffalo Bills, allowing them to trade up for the guy who just so happens to have the fastest 40 time in combine history. Last night, Rico, he has 3 touches in the entire game. 2 of them go for touchdowns. 2 of them for 20-plus yard touchdowns. The first touch that this guy has in his pro career is an end around where it looks like he gets shot out of a cannon, goes untouched all the way into the end zone. It wasn't like he had it wasn't like it was a busted play like the second one was. This one, he found the slightest crevice and absolutely blasted through it. The speed that he showed at the combine showed out on the field. Xavier Worthy gets their first touchdown of the game. He gets their last touchdown of the game. Ultimately, that's the difference. You're talking about a 1-touchdown game that should have been closer based on the shoe size of Isaiah Likely. The Kansas City Chiefs last night, I for the life of me cannot understand how that game even came down to the ability for Isaiah Likely's foot to be out of bounds. It felt like the Chiefs were up by 3 touchdowns the entire night. You blinked, and all of a sudden, somehow, the Ravens had the ability to go down and either tie or win that game at the end. I don't know about you, but the Kansas City Chiefs last night looked as good as ever. They looked primed to be able to go back and do what they did not only last season, but the season before. They looked better all around on both sides of the ball last night than the Baltimore Ravens. I guess the better takeaway would be for us Buffalo Bills, the silver lining. Those Ravens look beatable. That offensive line looks absolutely horrendous for Baltimore. John Harbaugh looked like he was in panic mode starting in the first quarter. And if you get pressure on Lamar Jackson, advantage other side of the ball. And we know the Buffalo Bills are capable of getting pressure on Lamar Jackson. I think nobody's defended him better in the short sample size they have against Lamar Jackson. The Bills have done an extraordinary job against him, as have the Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo last night, Chris Jones, another masterclass. Last night, it was a hell of a way to kick things off, especially for us Bills fans, getting a view of what the top of the AFC is going to look like. And guess what, Rico? It looks exactly like what it looked like a season ago and the season prior. No matter what you do, no matter how close you get, the Kansas City Chiefs by a shoelace wind up getting out of there with a W. But the biggest takeaway last night, Rico, is that the ultimate difference wound up being the guy playing wide receiver for the Chiefs that happens to be on that team because of the Bills' dime. It makes you sick. And hey, listen, I want to make one thing clear. That is no indictment, or that's no, it's when you talk about this, I think people get upset because it's like, oh, you didn't want Keon Coleman. No, that's not the point. The overall point I had always made, Keon Coleman could wind up being the next Randy Moss. That's fine. It doesn't take away from the fact that what we saw last night and what you can expect to see in the future, I would imagine, because we are one game in and the guy already has half the amount of 20-plus yard TDs that the Chiefs had in the whole season last year. The overall point here is, Rico, that guy is a Chief because of the Bills. Regardless of what the Bills did with their pick, regardless of what Keon Coleman does, Kansas City has the fastest guy in the league now on their team. And last night they put him to use, wound up winning them the ball game. What was your takeaway from last night?
Z-Bot ready to go, baby.
Dude, I'm absolutely amped. I mean, last night was a hell of a way to kick it off. There was so much.
I love it. Listen, I love the fact that Z-Bot's bringing the heat, and he's passionate, and he's feeling it. That we gave up the fastest guy in the league and the fastest guy. Boo hoo! I don't care. I do not care. Let me tell you why I don't care. All right.
I want to hear why you don't care.
Listen, let me tell you why we don't care. Brandon Beane, we both know Brandon Beane is a calculated individual. I'm sure of it. He sat there and said, Xavier Worthy could be the pick. I like Xavier Worthy, but I feel that we can get bigger. We can get stronger. I have a guy in mind. My quarterback likes him. We can get speed everywhere. I remember TJ Graham was lightning fast. We thought he was going to be the big difference. I'm not saying TJ Graham is Xavier Worthy, but we all had anticipation that he would be. Marquise Goodwin was fastest ever. He was a good player, but it's all about how you use this player. Now, I'm going to give you a prime example. You talk about he got shot out of a cannon, right? Beautiful. I actually enjoyed that. We have a guy that can do those very things on this team in Curtis Samuel. You cannot tell me Curtis Samuel will not be used that same way. And won't look like that. It will be as fast? No. Do we have that head coach as our offensive coordinator? No, we don't. But we will find ways to get Curtis Samuel the ball. That's why we brought him on the team. That's number one. Xavier Worthy had a play in the corner of the end zone, right? He didn't come down with it. Why didn't he come down with it? A guy like Keon Coleman, you put him in that position. Contested catches is what he does. Wait till we put him in everyone's going to have their role, right? Keon has his role. You know what I'm saying? The same way Curtis Samuel has his role, Shakir has his role. Everyone has their role. We got to slow our roll because my man got open on a broken play. Fam, let's everybody calm the heck down. Let's calm down. Let's bring it down just a little bit. He got to end around. He got great blocks. He made it in the end zone. Great play. I can't even front. When I wanted him to go up for that contested catch, big, small body. You know what I'm saying? This is a big boy league. You feel me? This is where Keon Coleman's going to come in. Now, I'm not going to take away from Xavier Worthy.
I think you're taking away from Xavier Worthy.
I'm not going to take away from Xavier Worthy. I'm not going to celebrate a broken play. It's a broken play. Oh, but he scored 2 touchdowns, 20 plus. I don't care if it was 100 yards. It's a broken play. So
You're doing right now.
The Ravens gave him that. It was a freebie. So I'm not going to sit here and praise him and make it look like, yo, he's a second coming. Hey, everybody calm the F down. Z-Bot included.
You are doing right now what you and me come on here and bitch about constantly. And that is going online and finding a way to make yourself feel better about the reality of the situation. The first thing you said there, you go to a play where Mahomes throws it up for grabs. And yes, Xavier Worthy was not drafted to catch corner end zone balls on a high fade. No, but what he was drafted to do was take a ball on an end around where the entire Ravens team is on the other side of things, and he blasts through it without even getting touched for a 20-yard touchdown. Keon Coleman is not doing that. Like I said, Keon Coleman could be the next Randy Moss. The one thing he's not doing is that play right there, because the Bills didn't draft Keon Coleman to do that. They drafted him to make the play that you just said Xavier Worthy couldn't. But the Chiefs drafted Xavier Worthy to make the play that resulted in that Keon Coleman couldn't do. Yes, the second one was a broken play, but that's the thing you also have to factor in. Why was it a broken play? Yeah, the Ravens D might have had a lapse there, right? But you got to talk about the way Andy Reid schemed this game up last night. They were running sets that we haven't even seen before. They had 2 tight ends in the backfield at one point, lined up on the right side of Mahomes. They were running these routes to the middle of the field last night. I don't know if you noticed. Rashee Rice, by the way, outside of Xavier Worthy, who had the 2 biggest highlight plays, right? Rashee Rice looked phenomenal, wide open in the middle of the field all game long. Think about it. The Chiefs put up 27 points on that defense, Rico. Travis Kelce had what, 4 catches? Wasn't even all that involved. Pacheco only had 33 yards. Mahomes threw a pick, right? And they still wound up putting up 27 points. The point here, Rico, and once again, I want to go back and preface this because I think this is sort of what you were saying, and I agree with you in the sense that the Bills did want Keon Coleman. They wanted a player like Keon Coleman. They did not want Xavier Worthy. I'm not sitting here saying, and I think this is where it gets twisted. I think when we talk about this, people think we should have drafted Xavier Worthy. You can think that. That's fine. I think there's probably plenty of people out there who wish the Bills did go with Xavier Worthy. I'm sure there's a lot more people this morning, Rico, who are thinking that way. I'm not sitting here saying that. I agree with you. I think Curtis Samuel can do shades of things that the Bills would have likely have done with Xavier Worthy, that the Chiefs want to do with Xavier Worthy, that they did do with him last night. I agree with you to that extent. Isaiah McKenzie was sort of that guy, right? You know, Cole Beasley was like that for a little bit, you know, for these Buffalo Bills. The difference is, however, it's not that the Bills wanted him. It's not that the Bills needed him to fulfill a role that the Chiefs clearly wanted to fulfill with him. They wanted a Coleman. They wanted to go up and get it guy that, let's be honest, they frankly really haven't had. You know, Stephon Diggs isn't a go up and get it guy. Who has been a go up and get it guy for Josh Allen? Not really. I have no problem at all with the Keon Coleman pick. He hasn't even played yet. I mean, for God's sake.
Do you not have a problem? I think you might.
No, I know. I'll tell you what I do have a problem with. I have a problem giving the pick to the Chiefs, because what did you see last night? How many viral tweets did you see last night of the Bills getting clowned for allowing the Chiefs to get yet another guy? It's not just the Bills fan base that's privy to this. It's the rest of the NFL. Our boy Marcel there, who used to cover the Bills, he now covers the Dolphins. He
Marcel
posted a hilarious-ass video last night. I think it had like 50,000 likes the last time I looked at it. And it was the rest of the NFL looking at the Bills after they allowed the Chiefs to get Xavier Worthy, right? And it's a dog looking at another dog from across one car to the other. The one dog looks terrified like this, and the other dog's staring him down like this. That's my overall point. If the Chiefs got it, and I said this the night of the draft, if the Chiefs got Xavier Worthy, say exactly, there it is. Look at this. This is how the rest of the NFL is looking at us right now. We are the dog closest to the camera. The rest of the NFL is the dog in the opposite car, right? This is my overall point, and I said it on draft night, Rico. If the Bills, just say in an alternate universe, if the Bills kept their pick and they took Keon Coleman as they did in the second round, and then the following pick, the Chiefs took Xavier Worthy, let bygones be bygones, because at the end of the day, Rico, it's not on the Buffalo Bills' dime. And what did I say the night of the draft? Anytime this guy wipes his ass, It's going to be put back on the Bills. And sure as shit, Rico, we are 60 minutes into the NFL season, and that's all you heard last night. So I agree with you to some extent, but you can't tell me that this isn't going to be a reoccurring theme.
Listen, Linda, listen, all right? What you're telling me is the Bills were in a lose-lose situation, is what you're telling me. You're telling me that if they pick Keon at 28 and the Chiefs picked Xavier Worthy, at least it's not on the Bills' watch. And some folks would have said, but you let them grab him anyway. You could have blocked it. Most folks would say that. You should have blocked it by 10. Man, I was about to cuss. Man, bump all that. That's what I say. I say bump all that. And here's the thing. I think folks, and I don't want to put you in this box, but because you're my partner, you're my guy, you're right next to me, I'm going to put you in that box.
Do it. Box me up.
To me, it feels as though anything Worthy does it's gonna explode because the Bills let him. Like, do we expect him to have like no receptions all year? Like, and then it'll be fine. He's gonna make plays, whether he was picked in the second or third. He's gonna make plays. We're gonna deal with it. So is Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman will have his highlights, and Bills Mafia will say, "All right, not so bad." But it's the first game, it's the first week, and it happens to be the Chiefs with Xavier working plays. I think we get overly emotional. Bills fans, I mean, Ryan Clark called us out the other day. He said we are insecure. It's looking like it right now.
Of course we are
not insecure. What do we are like the dude that we got our girl. What we looking at the next girl for, man? Yo, that's your girl. I got my chick. I'm straight. You know what I mean? What do you got? We got buyer's remorse?
Because the equivalent is that you had fill in the blank here. I guess who's the toast of the town right now? I don't know. Jennifer Lopez. Let's say she just broke up with Ben Affleck, right? I guess the point would be you had a date lined up with Jennifer Lopez, but you set her up. You set Jennifer Lopez up with the guy you hate the most, your arch rival. You had a date set up with J-Lo, and you called up your worst enemy and say, hey, I'm going to turn this down. Why don't you come over and take her out? And I'll take out another gorgeous gal who could be she could be 10 times better than J-Lo. But at the end of the day, everyone's always going to remember that guy's dating J-Lo because you set him up and you hate that guy. And that guy's going to burn you on that till the end of time. That's the biggest difference to me, Rico, because I agree with you. What you said is true. You said it was a lose-lose. It is a lose-lose. Lose-lose. It is, no doubt. But the Bills lock themselves into being, I would almost say, a lose-lose-lose. It's a lose-lose-lose. I don't even know if that makes sense. But you lock in the ideology that the Bills are the reason why why Xavier Worthy is on the Chiefs. If they passed on him, at least you could say, hey, the chips fell where they fell. The Bills stacked the chips for the Chiefs the way that things wound up unfolding. What you said is 100% accurate, but that's never going to be nuanced. That's never going to be what anybody remembers. Because the ultimate reality, Rico, is how many other teams passed on Xavier Worthy, right? I mean, like 26, 27. So that's the truth. That's the truth. You can say the same thing about the two-time MVP we saw on the losing end last night, Lamar Jackson. Even the Ravens in the first round passed on Lamar Jackson. So there's always going to be these excuses, right? There's always going to be, some other way to spin this. But I love this, by the way. This is great. We are back to draft night. As I knew we would be. As I knew we freaking would be.
Love it.
Is back, folks. I absolutely love it. Because this is, regardless, we got Rico's right. We got Bots right. What are we doing here, though, Rico? We're freaking arguing about it 60 minutes into the season. That's when you know that something's afoot here. And I was just hoping, I guess at the end of the day, is it not, regardless of what you think on it, regardless of what I think on it, regardless of what any of you guys think on it, is it not the most Billsian thing ever, though, for that guy in his first game to do what he did last night? Can we at least agree on that?
Of course it is. And here's the thing. And I love the analogy that you said, listen, it's like J-Lo, and you set up J-Lo, your girl, with the guy you hate the most. But guess what? We know something the guy you hate the most doesn't know. We could have had J-Lo, but we said, we good. We got something in the works that works for me down the road. Now, here's the thing. You got a guy that's 5'11", maybe 6 feet, $165. This is a long season. This is a long season. When a push comes to shove, when I need you to go across the middle and make a play, don't bring those alligator arms here. You better be a big boy and go get that thing, right? Now, they're going to put him in position to be skillful and do what he's supposed to do, and the Bills will do the same. Now, you asked a very good question. When's the last time the Bills had a big contest? We haven't had that. And when we did, it was Kelvin Biscuit Benjamin.
Oh, don't you dare.
You feel me? It was Andre Holmes. Those are the big boys they gave him. They said, this is not working. Let's go smaller. John Brown, Cole Beasley. All right, now we got some success. Here, bring on Diggs. All right, bring on Gabe Davis, a little bit more size, right? Now you have a guy that is known for making the tough plays that we need. Red zone. We struggle in the red zone, man. We need that. And we got Curtis Samuel. We got Khalil Shakir. Man, we good. And the Chiefs, we're going to face them. What do we face them, week 12? Ooh,
Yeah,
that's going to be fun, isn't that?
Week 12, we faced the Ravens, week 4? So listen. We're honing in on the two plays that were, big last night. Let's hone in more on the bigger picture here, right? Because those are the two teams. That's what it came down to last year, Rico, right? That's what it came down to. It came down to the Ravens. It came down to the Chiefs. And the Ravens last night reverted back to exactly what they went with in the AFC Championship that pretty much cost them the game. They put the game in Lamar's hands. They abandoned the run. The only difference now is it's almost more egregious because they bailed on Derrick Henry. In the beginning of that game, it felt like that RPO was going to be unstoppable. And then all of a sudden you blinked and Lamar threw the ball last night 41 times. I have this crazy stat, Rico, from the first half of that game last night. Because when I'm watching these games, of course, you can't have any rooting interest. I think we probably all slightly root for the Ravens last night just because. I mean, I think we all know why. But at the end of the day, neither win. You're rooting for a tie, if anything. I was hoping Isaiah Likely's touchdown stood. They go to overtime and they both take a knee until they both wind up with a tie. But this is what it's going to go through. At the end of the day, if you want to get to the Super Bowl, if you want to get to the AFC Championship, much more than the Super Bowl at this point for the Bills, they have yet to get back since facing those Chiefs in it a couple of years ago. You're going to have to go through one of these teams almost inevitably. And when we were watching last night, I think that's what you look at because, of course, not only the playoffs, but the Bills have to play both of these teams in the regular season this year. So I'm looking at both ends of things. We'll get to the Chiefs in a second. I want to touch on the Ravens because we have been on this all offseason about how last year, and it continued to happen all offseason. Last year, Lamar is supposed to be a unanimous MVP. You and I felt egregiously different. We thought that there was no way on the planet that Lamar played a unanimous MVP season last year. Goes into the playoffs, right? And once again, bows out, did not look great. They go into this season, they add Derrick Henry. He's fully healthy again, full offseason. And they go into night one. And we noticed with the Ravens two things. One, their offensive line is terrible. The Kansas City Chiefs defense was on him instantaneous. And this is the stat from the first half that was crazy.
Talk to me.
Lamar was given almost no time to throw. And when he was given time to throw, I don't know how you felt, but it seemed like he was almost anticipating not having the time to throw based on the rest of the snaps throughout the game. And his balls were off. They had a couple of deep balls that wound up bailing him out in this game, including that one likely touchdown. I don't know if you saw on the broadcast.
I love that. Was cool. Go ahead.
They said there was a 0.3% chance of that scoring, Rico. So that was just one of those plays that was way out of left field. Outside of that, the Ravens offense was struggling. In the first half, Lamar Jackson was averaging 0.8 yards per attempt through the air. 18 attempts in the first half. 2 of the 18, Rico, 2 of the 18 went further than 4 yards. So I think we saw last night in terms of playing the Ravens in week 5, in terms of playing or week 4, is it? I believe. Yeah, week 4. In terms of playing the Ravens in week 4 and then perhaps having to see them in the playoffs. The Bills have done a great job of this, playing them in the past. I think we saw the recipe again last night. If you can get in on him, it's tough. And I think the conversation right off the bat, Rico, the conversation is going to be Isaiah Likely's foot was out of bounds. That cost him the game. What cost him the game was Lamar Jackson throwing the ball into row D while Zay Flowers was standing pitching a tent in the back of the end zone with 10 seconds left. What was your overall thoughts on the Ravens last night? Because my takeaway was defense looked pretty damn good, but that's an offense that I have full confidence in Sean McDermott being able to stifle in a 60-minute game.
If Raven fans want to be for real and if they're true and they get it, this is a make break year for, and it's gonna sound crazy. It's a make break year for Lamar Jackson. Like, yo, you paid him like he is gonna be your guy, but like there's gotta come to the point where down the stretch you come and deliver. But you know what stood out to me the most out of watching this game? I knew this was gonna be a back and forth defensive battle, that the Ravens are gonna make some plays, and so are the Chiefs are gonna make some plays. Chris Jones is an absolute monster. This guy is unbelievable, man. My goodness, there was a point where Justice Hill was the one in blocking assignment on Jones. Why and how would you ever let that happen? Anyway, here's one thing I did notice. Lamar Jackson had 395 yards of total offense yesterday. 395 total offense. He had 273 yards passing. That's legit. He had 122 yards rushing off 16 carries.
He ran him 16 times. 16?
Bro, he didn't run like this last year. The way he was running today, he did not. It showed me that, like, he's looking at Josh Allen, and when push comes to shove, you got to do what you got to do and run that rock. Last year and the last couple years, Lamar was being cutesy, right? I'm not going to run the ball because I know you guys want me to run the ball. I'm going to show you that I'm a true quarterback. All right, the jig is up. We know you can throw the rock. Now, 16 carries? I don't care. I can't remember the last time Lamar had 16 carries. He is going to be in that break glass mode that Josh Allen is. Problem is, they're not built the same. Right, but he's going to have to do the
point, though.
That is the point. They're not built the same. I don't know how long you can put this up, but that's what I noticed. And another thing, Derrick Henry's your bell cow. That's your guy. You can't. 13 carries is not good enough. The first series, bang, 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 Derrick Henry touchdown. You're like, okay, all right, now we got ourselves something. And after that, he had like 5 or 6 carries after that. Nah, bro, you can't have that. You can't have that. So those are the things that stood out to me. Defensively, they're going to be great. I think they're still going to be solid. The Ravens are always solid. But the X factor is Lamar. We go where Lamar goes. But Isaiah, okay, here's another thing. How the hell did Isaiah Likely
cooking?
How did he outplay Mark Andrews?
Yo, he didn't just outplay him. I mean, he was one of the best players on the field last night.
Bro, I said, is Mark Andrews hurt? Where he at? Fantasy owners must have been up in arms, saying, where's my guy? I drafted him in the second round. Where's Mark Andrews? Bro, Isaiah Likely.
So I saw someone tweet last night. They said the Ravens got Mark Andrews playing left tackle. It's a wrap. I mean, it was crazy. Isaiah Likely, dude, you have 2 Hall of Fame tight ends on the field last night. And Isaiah Likely was better than both of them last night by a wide margin. It was pretty crazy. And he should have had the game-winning touchdown if it weren't for his foot being Shaq size as opposed to being, somewhat normal human being size. You brought up a point that I think needs to be talked about here. You said break glass in case of emergency. Josh Allen has the build to break the glass. Unfortunately, Lamar Jackson has the build to be the glass that gets broken. He was running the ball last night like Derrick Henry should be running the ball. Not a lot of sliding for Lamar Jackson. Not a lot of running out of bounds.
He was knocking him, you bucking, boy. He was ready.
Dude, he was getting popped last night. So where I agree with you, he was running the ball like prime Mike Vick last night. That looked like the unanimous MVP Lamar Jackson in his second year that actually deserved to be the unanimous MVP, unlike last season.
I'm with you.
Rico, how many of those carries were because the play got blown up a half a second after the snap? I think the Chiefs look at that stat line, and it does look, if you didn't watch that game on paper, you're thinking, man, Lamar's the AFC player of the week, right? But if you watch that game, I think the Chiefs walk away saying, we're fine with Lamar scrambling around on us all day because outside of that, they have nothing. And what happened all game long? They had nothing. They waltzed down the field the first drive of the game, got into the end zone. The rest of the game, it was almost a carbon cut copy to the AFC Championship. The same thing happened. Remember, the Ravens went right down the field and scored. Right. They couldn't do anything the rest of the game. Lamar had an extraordinary day on the ground. But I'll tell you, if I'm a Ravens fan, Lamar Jackson, 41 pass attempts in 16 carries. Rico, we are one game into the year. There is no way that's sustainable. Not to mention, Rico, in a loss, nonetheless. I mean, do you think he can keep that up?
You know what? I think he can.
You do.
I don't think people give this guy credit. This guy he's tough. He's tough as nails, man. Like he's one of those. I know he's had some injuries in his past, but he's tough. He can do it. He's been doing it his whole career. One thing that I do that does stand out to me, and he said, in fact, I think somebody asked him a question like, would you say this is a discouraging loss? Or he's like, no, I'm actually encouraged, right? And there are saying, you know what? How there's sayings where we gave the game away. Would you say that the Ravens lost this game or the Chiefs won this game?
Dude, that is, I mean, hey, credit in the world to Lamar for I think probably having the right way to look at it after that game. And they probably feel that way when you are literally a big toe away from getting an opportunity to go for 2 and win that game, which is exactly what John Harbaugh was going to do. Rico, I think
if he got it, they would have won that game.
I mean, I guess we'll never know, but the momentum sure as hell was on their side. They went down the field with no timeouts. They went down the field at 85 yards, right?
And I asked that question because, like, if I were to ask you right now, and I know your answer immediately, and I know the whole chat right now would say the thing, and everybody viewing, if you were to say, let's go back to week 1 of last year, the Bills and Jets game. Did the Bills lose that game or did they give the game away?
Oh, see that
unanimously, everybody would say they gave the game away. Because had they not, that game is over with. It's done with, right? Yo, Lamar had a fumble, turned the ball over. Lamar was missing shots left, right, center. Bro, once they tighten up, they'll be all right. And they were able to tighten up in the game, and he had a chance to win the game, tie the game, and win the game. So as much as we want to praise the Chiefs and so on and so forth, this was a good game altogether. Let's keep it a buck here. Good game altogether.
Oh, yeah.
The Chiefs look good. They look solid. They look solid. I'm not gonna lie, and they're only gonna get better. That's why that's why it's so important for the Bills not to falter and give games away. This AFC is way too tough to let games slip away. You just can't. You saw this. This game was decided by a toe, half an inch. That's how this game was decided. Because I personally believe that they were gonna go for 2 if they got it, and they probably would have punched that thing in. Game over.
So to answer your question, I think maybe Lamar feels that way because maybe they feel the offense gave it away. I think the Ravens defense with a rookie defensive coordinator, they looked pretty damn impressive last night. I thought they looked, I mean, because you mentioned a couple of really key points. The offense made 2 critical errors in the first half, the Baltimore Ravens. One, Lamar getting sacked on their own 10, 15-yard line fumbling. No touchdown for the Chiefs. Ravens defense comes out and holds them to a field goal. The other one that I thought was egregious at the time because the Ravens were melting down at this point. How many illegal formation? I mean, first of all, I hope Sean McDermott is hitting the whiteboard with the O-lineman this weekend and saying, hey, listen, because if I see that on Sunday, Rico, I'm gonna spaz. I was spazzing last night, and I didn't give a damn who wound up winning the game. That was insane last night. But John Harbaugh, a seasoned vet in this league, which, by the way, did you see? He's only 5 years younger than Andy Reid. Would you have guessed that, by the way? He's 61. The guy looks phenomenal. But he was looking like he was unraveling in the first half. I've never seen him panic like that. They were getting flagged every snap. So what did they do? It was the second quarter, early in the second quarter on their own 50-yard line. They couldn't move the ball. The offensive line was getting shredded. John Harbaugh sends out the offense on a 4th and 3 at the 50. They lose a yard. And guess what? The Ravens D held serve again. This is why I felt last night, to answer your question, I don't think the Ravens gave it away. Those 2 moments, however, made it feel like the Chiefs should have won that game by, at bare minimum, 2 scores. It should never have come down to the ability to tie it. The Ravens defense should be holding their head high today. The Ravens offense last night, and this is where I think it's going to get confused because you're going to go back to that box score, and Lamar's got damn near 300 pass yards. He's got well over 100 rush yards.
I'm telling you.
I thought the Ravens offense last night was unimpressive. Unimpressive. For 85% of that game, if it weren't for that 0.3% chance of scoring touchdown for Isaiah Likely, if it wasn't for that great throw, and Lamar did make a great throw at the end to get them in scoring territory, if it wasn't for a couple plays, if we're looking at the bulk of the game, Rico, I thought the Ravens offense struggled, and I thought it was primarily because of their offensive line. I never, unless we're talking about a divisional playoff game, a conference championship game, if I see Josh Allen with 16 rushing attempts against the Cardinals on Sunday, and I love when he runs, I'm going to lose my shit. The Ravens should not feel good about the fact that Lamar had 16 carries, because damn well that was not the strategy going in. The reason he ran it so much, dude, he couldn't get a second to breathe back there.
We love when Josh Allen does Josh Allen things.
Yes.
Right? If Josh Allen, we hated when Josh Allen was trying to be cute and not run the football. And I'm just going to, no, do what you do. And that's what Lamar's doing right now. Do what you do. And I think he's going to go back to the way Lamar's supposed to be Lamar. And I think we'll see some good things. But the Ravens and the Chiefs, that game, this is how you want your week one. That's how you kick off a season. That's how you kick off a season. I think it was a great game. It had everybody engaged. And listen, I'm going to go right back to Xavier Worthy. I ain't sweating it. I ain't sweating him either. I'm good.
Sergey's got something to say about that. He's got something to say about Xavier Worthy. He's saying it was one game. Yeah, I didn't want to hear Worthy's name on either of those TD plays, but chill and let the season play out and reserve judgment until then. Go Bills. Look, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. And I agree with you. Like I said,
like that.
Keon Coleman, I tweeted this out last night. The heel all will be first snap of the game, 70-yard bomb to Coleman, touchdown, and we'll forget about Xavier Worthy in about a blink of an eye. Here's the situation. And we do this all the time, Rico, so we have to do it. Put yourself in the Bills' shoes last night, okay? The Bills are the Chiefs last night, and they do with Xavier Worthy what the Chiefs did with Xavier Worthy. Sergey, I love you, brother, and we appreciate the super chat. Are you going to be going on here and saying it's one game, we'll reserve judgment on how good Xavier Worthy looks until the end of the season? No, sir. You wouldn't be doing it, and guess who else wouldn't be doing it? The two boys you're looking at right now. We'd be on here saying first ballot Hall of Famer. We'd be saying get the bust ready, get the gold jacket fitted. That's what we would be doing. We have got to put our bias aside here. The guy had 3 carries. He had 3 touches, and he punched it in for 2 massive touchdowns that wound up being the difference in the ballgame. So, yes, we have to reserve our overall judgment on the pick, the comparison to Keon Coleman. But you can't tell me it was the most poetic thing on the planet that this guy takes the field in one game. He has half the amount of splash play touchdowns that the Chiefs had a season ago. And it was the one thing that the Bills fans were worried about the most going into the season. Is this guy going to look like an absolute stud on the dime of the Buffalo Bills? So I see what you're saying.
Yep.
And once again, let me emphasize this because I know that this just gets lost in translation. It's got nothing to do with Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman could be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The Bills are still going to be linked back to whatever the hell Xavier Worthy does. So we can cope about it all we want. But that was one game. They barely got him involved in the offense, and he had 2 massive touchdowns. The other scary thing, I think, too, is Rico. He barely touched the ball. Kelsey barely touched the ball. The Chiefs struggled on offense last year, and they could have very easily put up 40 points last night. They won that game with 27 points, and it was pretty much the same formula they had last year. And that was the defense play pretty stout football the entire game. The Chiefs score enough points offensively to get it done. That's what they did. And I think that's the scariest Chiefs team to face, because if their defense is going to look as good as they did last night, if Chris Jones is going to F the play up and he's going to give you the ball at the 10-yard line, that's the Chiefs you don't want to face. But to the Xavier Worthy point,
yep,
regardless of what happens the rest of the way, I will never not find it funny that the first game we see from this guy on national stage, the first game of the whole year under the lights on Thursday Night Football, the guy just has 2 of the biggest plays of the weekend. But hey, at the end of the day, the heel all, once again, like I said, the heel all will be a Bills dominant victory on Sunday. Keon Coleman looking good. But there's no way we can rule out, what Xavier Worthy did the other night or last night, because it wasn't.
You won't be able to, because there's going to be a lot more Xavier Worthy performances this year that's going to say, shoot, we should have.
Oh, I mean, there'll be moments too, Rico, and they're coming when he doesn't do anything, and Twitter will be like, "See, this is why we didn't take it."
Yeah, there you go.
It'll come full circle at some point.
Absolutely. My man Caleb says, Rico, the point Bot is making is that Lamar was forced to scramble on first and second down. We're used to seeing Allen scramble on third in heavy coverage. Totally different scenarios. No, they're not. The reason that Bot is explaining that he was having to run so often was because of the having to get out of the pocket quickly because he had no time. There are moments that Josh has no time and he does exactly what Lamar was doing. So stop the cap. That's what Josh does. There are design runs for Josh, but there are a lot of plays where Josh is like, let me bail out right, because guess what? Spencer Brown just missed a block. So he's got to bail out and make plays on his feet. So let's cut the cap, man. Let's know what we got.
I think that is what Caleb's trying to say. He's saying was forced to scramble on first and second down because of the line. And Josh Allen does that too. But I think
what's the totally different scenario? They're not. They're the same. Well, they're bailing out because the line was not blocking, but he's trying to shoot bail for Josh and not for Lamar.
Let me reread this. Rico, the point Bot is making is that Lamar was forced to scramble on first and second down. We're used to seeing Allen scramble on third and heavy coverage, totally different scenarios. Okay, so I will agree with you. Allen scrambles far more than on a healthy coverage on third down. I mean, the majority of Allen's runs are in scenarios that Lamar was in last night. The difference, however, is the amount of scenarios that he was in last night that resulted in him having to do that. 16 carries. I don't think Josh Allen's ever ran it for that much. You get Derrick Henry, the last of a generation, Rico. He is I always like to equate it back to like Jerome Bettis to me is like the poster child for this type of running back, where it's just like you can't even define what this is. The athleticism, the speed, the durability, and the overall brute force that they bring. I mean, I think they put a graphic up last night. I think Derrick Henry had 20 pounds on the heaviest Chiefs linebacker. I mean, this is the last of this type of running back we're going to see. Derrick Henry is one of the all-time greats. And of course, the Ravens, who have had a top 3 run offense, I believe, in 6 consecutive seasons. Right. They bring in one of the greats. I don't want to see a world, Rico, where, I don't care. Go ahead and see this world. I'm saying if I'm a Ravens fan, I don't want to see the world. Or not only does Lamar have 3 more carries than Henry with 16 attempts, but also 41 attempts. Yeah, that's what you want. And this is what weirded me out the most, Rico. Back to Caleb's point, in the beginning of the game, it was designed runs for Lamar on those RPOs, and it was beautiful. I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, man, this is going to give defensive coordinators nightmares. That went away. The rest of the night, almost none of those runs were designed for Lamar. They were all scrambles. Derrick Henry, I don't know why they bailed on it so quick. You and I were talking off air earlier. You said the game it didn't feel close. It was close all game. It felt like the Ravens were just like, you know what, hit the panic mode in the second quarter. And I think that started with going for it on that fourth down there. You can't bail on Derrick Henry. I wonder if the reason that they did, though, Rico, was because we really saw. I think it doesn't take a trained eye to notice how bad that offensive line was last night for the Ravens.
They were definitely shaky for sure. And that's the thing, right? You have a plan until you get punched in the mouth, and then your plan goes out the window. And I'm sure their plan was to run the ball with Henry and control the clock, because they somewhat did. They had 33 minutes of time of possession. So they were kind of running the clock. I mean, obviously with Lamar Jackson in tail, but keep in mind, you're down 20-10. You're one big play away from actually it turning into a blowout, and then you're now one-dimensional. So they kept it close and just couldn't punch it at the end of the day. I mean, listen, man, it was a fun game to watch. I think it was great. I think it makes me look way more forward. Sorry, did you click on something there?
Yeah, I was going in order here just because we're talking about the Ravens here and our boy Richie Fresh. Richie, good to see you. We're excited to have you along for the season, my man Richie Fresh, and he's coming in. And look, I'd be lying. I already read it, and I'd be lying if I didn't think the same. This is just where our brains go. But hey, you know what? Not for lack of a reason given to us. We had a whole show. How many shows have we had this offseason, Rico? Here we go again. Josh Allen, biggest bum on the planet. Let's talk about it, right?
Right.
Last night, we've done it all show here. What did we talk about? We talked about Xavier Worthy. We talked about the Ravens offensive line. We talked about Isaiah Likely's toe being out of bounds. We talked about the fourth down not being converted, the fumble. One of the things we really haven't touched on is exactly what Richie Fresh is saying here. Lamar Jackson misses wide open flowers. Oh, he's still MVP. Allen gets bumped and misses Shakir. Yep. And he's considered overrated, mind-boggling. Last night, and I have no problem saying this because of all the reasons I've been given to say this. Last night, if Josh Allen has Khalil Shakir where Zay Flowers is, and Josh Allen put that ball at the hot dog cart like Lamar Jackson did, all morning long. That's exactly what you're going to. This is what we've been saying about Josh Allen all along. This is why his peers view him as one of the most overrated players in the league. A two-time MVP, Rico, I don't give a damn what the excuse was last night. A two-time MVP cannot throw the ball 6 yards behind a guy in a game-winning scenario. That's what Lamar Jackson did last night. The best way to put it is this, and it's similar to Josh Allen in many ways. The reason why the Ravens won that game, or the reason why the Ravens were in that game last night in the majority of the part on offense was because of Lamar Jackson. The reason why you could argue they lost it was because of Lamar Jackson at the same time.
That's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, man. Your franchise quarterback has to get you over the hump. And that's what the Ravens are missing, man. I need my guy to get us over the hump. The regular season is all great, but when it comes push to shove and it comes to, beating the tough teams, bro, my man falls apart. But I mean, listen, man, that's the nature of playing the position, the quarterback position. I got my man, Darren Martin says, healthy Vaughn, DeQuan, Jones, Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau. That's on the contract year against an O-line in week 4 is going to eat. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and week 4.
My thoughts are the same, though, as Darren. I'm watching that last night, and I'm thinking, because we already know how well Sean McDermott schemes up against the Ravens. He really does. And we know Spagnuolo does the same. I was thinking the same thing last night. The Bills' front four should absolutely devour whatever the hell the Ravens put out on display. Unless they get it in gear quick, the Ravens are going to struggle against any defense worth a damn up on the front line.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is the best way to segue into it. Let me get this. Lancelot C says, once again, Ravens began to run the ball late in the game. Well, they once they got it closer, then they can go back to being their game. But when it was like 20-10, we need to close the gap by putting the ball in the air. That's what they did until they can kind of get it back on track. All right, let's get to Ravens type football. It just was a little too late. We got Arrowhead Nation says, all right, was waiting for you guys. No lie. One of the best shows. Obviously, nail biter. Bills would have beat Baltimore too, in my opinion. I mean, shoot, we got the Ravens week 4, so we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out what's really good.
It's funny to his point, by the way. It was the Chiefs beat the Ravens last night, very similar to how the Chiefs beat the Bills in the divisional game, where it came down to the final series there. The Chiefs had their moments where they could have coughed it up and they couldn't pull it out. But I looked at that game last night, and yeah, I'm sorry. One of my takeaways was the Chiefs are going to be as tough as ever. But I'm watching that Ravens team, and I'm thinking the Bills, if they come out and they look like we hope that they can, I think the Bills can certainly beat the Ravens on any given night the way they look last night.
Listen, I actually definitely agree. Roger says, yo, sup, fellas? Love the show. Me, myself, I like to wait until week 5 to see where we stand in the league. Listen, man, week 5, to me, week 6, week 7 is where I like to see where we stand. Week 7, we know what's good. Yep. Are you a 500 team week 8 by week 7, week 8-ish? Or are you a top, or are you the bottom? You feel me? And that sounded weird what I just said there, but y'all catch what I'm saying there. But here's where I want to kind of transition a little bit. By the way, for those that are tuned in and you guys don't know who we are, my man, this is my man Bot. I'm your boy Rico. This is Rico Bot in the afternoon. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do yourselves a favor. Subscribe to this channel. We don't just talk Bills football. We talk everything around the league, and we try to keep it funky. We try to keep it fun. And I try to go at my guy Bot, and Bot tries to go at me, and that's how we have fun, right? So smash that like while you guys are here. We got some sponsors that we got to talk about. Who we sponsored by? Who we got some sponsorship by?
Couple of the best in the game. Right now, we were very satisfied. We're not satisfied. Here I am. We're very satisfied to be partnered. We're very excited to be partnered with Autograph. I'm sure you've heard of them by now, but if you haven't, Autograph, one of the coolest apps in the game. You need to download it ASAP, especially before we kick off on Sunday, because Autograph is your one-stop shop for everything Bills. Think about it like Twitter without all the chaos, because you go on Twitter and you're going to see 4 videos of the most random thing you've ever seen. And then you're going to see your Bills content. If you download the Autograph app, you're going to see nothing but Bills content and the best of it. You can watch our show live like you're watching right now on the Autograph app, in addition to getting all of the top Bills articles, all of the top Bills tweets, all of the top podcasts, including ours, all in one spot. And not only that, Rico, the coolest part about Autograph, you do all that, you earn rewards. And the rewards that you get can be put towards tickets, Bills merch like jerseys. There's giveaways all the time. It's completely free. That's the coolest thing. So if you download the app with our link, you sign up, boom, you're ready to go. And like I said, it's similar to like Twitter or Reddit, but everything that you're looking for the Bills is all in one spot. and you get these points. So if you're already watching us, you might as well download the app and get the points, because if you accumulate enough of them, if you watch enough of us two bozos going at it, you're gonna earn points, and you're eventually going to be able to turn off YouTube, which we don't encourage you to do, but you're eventually going to be able to turn off YouTube and turn on the car ignition and drive to the game, because you can earn tickets, merch, all that cool stuff. So make sure to check that out. And then you know who else, Rico, the one that I am excited to talk about right now, because that's going to transition us into what I'm really excited to talk about, and that's football. And that's my friends over at BetUS. I'm going to give you a guess right now before we cue it up. What do you think the current line is, Bills Cardinals heading into Sunday? And give me the over-under, too. I want you to guess the over-under as well.
All right. So I'm probably cheating, but this was days ago. So this is probably a refreshed version of it. So the line, I'm going to assume it's still sitting at -6. And I'm going to go over-under if it's the same, maybe give or take a couple points. I'm going to say 44.5, 44.5. What do we have, brother? Talk to me now.
Close on both. It's up to 6.5 right now on BetUS. Here are the current lines. So that tells us it's been fluctuating between 6 and 6.5. So the Bills right now are over a full touchdown favorite at 6.5 on BetUS. I mean, that's a hell of a statement, right? Because I think that the Cardinals are going to be a hell of a lot better than the 4-win team that they are, or that they were rather, last year. So they're a 6.5 point favorite going into Sunday. And then it's 47, which, you know, Rico, BetUS is anticipating some fireworks in this game. That's one of the higher over-unders of the weekend at 47. So we're anticipating, based on the lines, a Bills win that should be somewhat comfortable, with points coming in bunches. So I could see that happening. Makes you wonder if Marvin Harrison Jr., right? He gets off to a hot start. Kyler Murray back. If he gets off to a hot start against the Bills defense that's young, probably going to take a minute to get their feet underneath of them. Ultimately, though, the biggest weakness for the Cardinals is their defense. So you could sure as hell see the Bills putting up some points. I think that the way it stacks up right now, it looks fair, but I do think that the Cardinals could very well keep it within that margin. But if you're looking to get in on the action, by the way, go ahead and take advantage of the newest offer we have going on for you right now at BetUS. You can bet on that Bills game by going onto BetUS and taking advantage of the 150% sign-up bonus we have going, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Just use the promo code YouTube150 and you'll get that bonus. All the lines are on there for all the games this weekend, including that Bills game, which we transition to now, Rico. For starters, before we even dive into it, we got our taste last night. We're going to get some Brazilian action tonight, Rico. We're going to get some Brazilian action in the NFC, which should be a banger as well. The Packers and the Eagles. We got a full slate of college football tomorrow. Not the best games, but we do get Michigan, Texas, which should be fun. And then all that aside, because at the end of the day, who gives a rip? Our Buffalo Bills are less than 48 hours away. We're here, Rico. Where you at? Where you at?
Listen, here's where I'm at. I'm here looking at this depth chart, because we got to get into the the Bills and Cardinals, because if you think we're going to steamroll the Cardinals, you're probably correct. You're probably correct. But I'm also one that is, I've got to look at all angles. I've got to give some flowers to the other team. I'm not going to sit here and just poo-poo all over the Cardinals, because there are some good things that the Cardinals are going to bring to the table. But Vegas says we should be able to take care of business, as we should. Kyler Murray has got some new pieces. The defense has lost some pieces, but they really haven't done much. They've improved the O-line just a little bit. We'll talk about it just a little bit. But the depth of the Bills, I want to share a little something with y'all. And but we haven't had a chance to talk about the depth of the Bills and what we feel stands out. Listen, let's start with the offensive side of the ball. This is such tiny little writing. I'm gonna see if I can blow this up if I can, and if I can't, then so be it. It's not working out for me. But depth of this team here. The one thing that stands out is the defensive side of the ball. We've got Lamar Hamlin starting. How do we feel about this? Because this is a storyline. Because I'm seeing a lot of it's Lamar Hamlin starting. Like, why? Why are we going with Lamar Hamlin? I'm here to say, hold on a second. Let's pump the brakes. Give this brother an opportunity because he might come out and surprise the heck out of us. We weren't too sure what we were going to get in Dane Jackson either. But Dane came in and was around the football, did what he's supposed to do, and he became a guy that we're like, okay, we mess with Dane. Damar Hamlin might be able to come in and say, you know what? I deserve to be in this league. We already know about his story, but are we buying it? Are we buying Damar Hamlin as a bona fide starter and he's earned it and he's the best option do we have, or you selling? I'm not buying it. You're selling that. Ain't no way. This is just to make it look good. We gave him an opportunity, and if it doesn't work out against the Cardinals, we can quickly move on to the next. What say you about these decisions that have been made to put Damar Hamlin as your starting safety, and then we'll move on across the defense, and we got the other things to talk about.
Well, for starters, how about it? I mean, how about it? You know where we were at. And by the way, Rico said earlier, we like to go at it. That's why I was excited to talk about Worthy today, because more often than not, we are usually quite aligned. And one thing that we were aligned on was how egregious it was that Joe Flacco won the what is it, comeback player of the year last year. And we had a whole discussion about how there needs to be a brand new tier of reward simply because of how egregious it was that Damar Hamlin did not win it this year. It just got that much more egregious. Him now being announced a starter. Everybody thought, including myself to some capacity, I cannot lie. Everybody thought that Damar Hamlin may have been retained on this team because the Buffalo Bills, not that he wasn't worthy of being on the team, but that it just felt like you need to keep him on the team in order to see what he is after this whole thing unfolds. Now, plenty of people argued this is the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, thank God he's fine, but the nature of the beast in the NFL, and we see it all the time. It absolutely sucks, but it is the business. You got to move on from guys because you only have 53 spots, and you can't let emotions factor into it. You have to fill the 53 with the best 53. But a lot of people had felt that the Bills might be keeping Hamlin onto the 53 to see what he looks like after this whole thing settles down. And I don't think people were all that happy about that. And I think you're starting to see that narrative trickle in again. But what we're seeing right now is that the Bills made the right choice. And once again, no matter what we say, no matter what everybody else says, 99.9% of the time, the reason Brandon Beane's got a gig, the reason McDermott's got a gig, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they might know a thing or two more than we do. There's a reason why Damar Hamlin's going out there and starting. And there's a reason why they retained him on the team. And it wasn't just because they were doing it for the hell of it. I think Damar Hamlin is one guy that we look back on before the whole travesty went down. The guy was out there starting for these Buffalo Bills. And no one was batting an eye at that point. No one was batting an eye that Damar Hamlin had to go in and serve the starting role when the Bills defense was depleted going into that Cincinnati Bengals game. No one was talking about it then. If anything, he was playing pretty serviceable ball. The other thing we talk about all the time, Rico, we've talked about this a variety of times this offseason, just due to the fact that the Bills are being written off for the amount of guys that are unknown and are automatically being projected to not do anything for Buffalo. But you just said one, right? The other one, there's a bunch of them. Rasul Douglas, he's one of those guys. Christian Benford, one of those guys. Teron Johnson. No one knew who the hell he was until he took one back on Lamar. Then all of a sudden, one of the best in the game. Terrell Bernard, another great one, right? A guy that the Bills are going to be leaning on heavily this season. It goes up and down the list. And the Bills are going to be hoping to see a lot of that on offense this year as well, right? Curtis Samuel resurging his career, hopefully, right? Same could be said with a variety of guys on this team. Mac Hollins, another guy, right? You look at Damar Hamlin. Yes, one of the main reasons why he's going to be starting out on the football field on Sunday is because the Bills are banged up at the safety department. I mean, Cole Bishop, we know, was injured all offseason. All right. They had a variety of injuries all throughout the defensive roster. And that was one of our biggest gripes, is that we didn't get to see a lot of these guys in the offseason. We would have liked to have seen that chemistry be built on both sides of the ball just because of how new this team is. But Damar Hamlin brings a couple of things to the table. One, believe it or not, I mean, seriously, One of the more veteran.
Seriously, believe me what I'm going to tell you.
Because it's crazy. I remember when we talked to Deion Dawkins, we were like, how do you feel about going into year 6 or whatever it was? And he couldn't even believe it, year 7. DeMar Hamlin right now is one of the more tenured guys on this team. I mean, that's just what the Bills are right now. They have a ton of new faces. So that's one thing you bring to the table. He's also bringing to the table a guy who was a starting safety for these Buffalo Bills before he went down. This team banged up a bit going into the season, and I think that the chips fell where they fell to allow DeMar Hamlin to have a spot. But, let's not forget that throughout the offseason, Rico, what were we hearing? Man, DeMar Hamlin's looking pretty good. DeMar Hamlin's showing flashes. This is not the DeMar Hamlin we were expecting to see here in camp.
Facts.
I know there's a lot of people out there. Sean McDermott doesn't know how to manage a clock. Sean McDermott doesn't know how to manage the late game situation. Sean McDermott knows how to manage a defense. Sean McDermott's putting the guys out there. I promise you, if Taylor Rapp banged up or not, Cole Bishop, for instance, the rookie, banged up or not, if Cole Bishop was better than DeMar Hamlin on the football field throughout camp, Cole Bishop's going to be starting on Sunday. He's not. I think Sean McDermott, if there's one thing that I have full trust in the guy, it's putting out the accurate personnel. The guy had a ragtag defensive roster last year, halfway through the season, especially going into the postseason, somehow strung together another terrific defensive year for these Buffalo Bills. This was a earned starting role for DeMar Hamlin Sunday. Before you start projecting your thoughts on this situation based on what happened to him a couple of years ago, before you start screaming on the rooftops about that, because I'm seeing plenty of it.
Yeah.
Let's see a game on Sunday. He's going to have a test. Kyler Murray, no joke. Marvin Harrison Jr., we know what he's projected to be. Yep. Let's see what this looks like. I'm excited to see what it looks like. And above anything else, hell yeah, DeMar Hamlin, man. This is so cool. And once again, not just because he's not out there just because it's cool, Rico. Earned starting role on Sunday. Super happy for DeMar Hamlin.
And this is the thing. We have to, there's a point where we can't talk at the, and I'm talking about fans, right? Talk at the side of our mouths and say, we trust Brandon Beane. We trust Sean McDermott. Have you seen what Sean McDermott has done with Poyer and Hyde? He made these guys into stars and all pros and this is that. So why can't he do the same with Hamlin? Why can't he do those same things? If he sees that these guys have done enough, and I don't want to hear, well, the only reason he's starting is because the other guys are too banged up. Listen, if he wasn't good enough, he probably would have trotted out a guy that's banged up and this is our best chance.
He would have.
You've got to give an opportunity. That's how that's how players are born. We were freaking. I'll talk about myself. I was freaking when I was like, Terrell Bernard didn't get an off season to practice and he's going to lead this way. We are doomed. Oh, now Matt Milano's done? We're done. And this guy turns out to be one of the best defenders and becomes a captain, and we'll talk about it in just a little bit. So we absolutely need to give this brother a chance, man. Let us be the type to say, holy crow, they know what they're talking about. Yo, he had a damn good game. He had a game-saving interception. Game-saving. Listen, let's not forget, if you go back and look at DeMar Hamlin's collegiate highlights and look at his film, yo, he's a missile. This guy, he's a hard-hitting safety. He's not afraid to tackle. Not at all. So if he's been in this defense, he kind of has an idea of how things go to roll. Give this brother a chance, man. He might be that dude. You just never know. It might be the Rapp Hamlin, you know what I'm saying, combination, and slip in a little bit of Lewis Seen if he's good enough to jump in and play and healthy enough, and slip in a little bit of Cole Bishop. Damn, this safety room might be all right. Or we're looking at this like, golly, this was a mistake. But you got to let these things happen.
And we very well could. I mean, we very well could. And in the end of the day, you got to let it play out. Mountain Man's coming in, and I think this is a fair point. He's saying it in a funny way. He's saying the competition for safety was the water boy and the guy holding the clipboard, though. He said water boy and the guy, or he repeated it, but that was a good way to put it. Funny way to put it, Mountain Man. But the point's mute in the sense of he wouldn't, regardless if the competition was the water boy. If the water boy was better, then the water boy would be out there. My point is, it doesn't matter who currently is on the roster for the Buffalo Bills. Yes, it is not Poyer and Hyde, and get used to it. It's not going to be. And if your expectation is for Hamlin to be that on Sunday, then of course you're going to be disappointed. But nobody on this roster is going to be that. I don't care who it was, unless they went out and made a major move or they got lucky in the draft. There was never going to be an adequate replacement this year for Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. We all knew that. We all knew that. There was no way.
We knew this was going to be a shaky year in the back end. And for us to sit there and trust Cole Bishop, if they said Cole Bishop has had a great offseason, and we would have just trusted and said, yep, that's right, because he's the new guy, and it just makes sense for us to just go with it. We'll go with it right now. Hamlin is that dude, and if he comes out and he's got a chip on his shoulder, he's ready to go. Come on, man. He makes a big play.
To your point, though, Rico, if Cole Bishop was named the starter, the reason we would have accepted it is because McDermott's going to put the best guy out there. That's why I'm accepting Hamlin. As I would be accepting, we would have the same argument. I'm telling you right now, the only reason we're having this conversation about Damar Hamlin is because of the whole situation that happened with him. We'd be having a similar situation or similar conversation right now. What would the conversation be right now, Rico, if Cole Bishop was slotted as the starting safety on the depth chart? We'd be saying, man, we're really starting a banged up rookie at safety. That's not going to be Poyer. That's not going to be Hyde. It doesn't matter. So back to Mountain Man's point. Yeah. Was the competition less than that of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde? Yeah, it absolutely was. But the reason why I'm satisfied with it as of right now is because there were other options. And I understand people lose faith in McDermott, as I do too. There's times when there's moments in the game where you're like, man, this is going to put McDermott's abilities to the test. The one thing I never question is his decision-making in terms of personnel being put there out on the defensive end. This guy has turned rag to riches year after year with multiple guys. I'm not saying that Damar Hamlin's going to be the guy who comes out and is the next Rasul Douglas, Terrell Bernard, Teron Johnson, whatever. I'm telling you, he's out there Sunday because he is, in McDermott's eyes, the best option for the Buffalo Bills.
1,000%. And we were ready to say, yo, get the rookie in there. This is how much, we were talking about last year, get Dorian Williams in there. Why isn't Dorian Williams on there? And listen, they saw something. And you hear about how they talk about Terrell Bernard now.
Yeah,
I love Terrell Bernard.
Point, yes.
We knew from the jump. And now that it's manifested, he's earned that spot. He's earned what he's got, which now gives me great deal and great happiness to jump into the decision that was made on our captains. We had 10 captains last year, 8 to 10 captains last year. We're down to two captains, Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard, the Nard dog, right? So I have a question for you, my man. Are you okay with the team going with two captains rather than a bevy of captains? Because we've lost 6 of 8 captains last year. 6 of 8 gone.
Yep.
Now we're going to go with 2 captains and we'll go captain by committee. Are you in favor of the 2 captain system, or do you like having multiple guys as captains? Jump in on that one.
Let's bring it full circle. Right? Because King P is coming in and he's saying, same conversation we just had about Damar Hamlin is the same conversation that was being had about Terrell Bernard. You said it too, Rico. You said it in the sense of we talk about Terrell Bernard now as the second only captain on this team and the guy that, hey, Milano, he ain't around. Guess what? Bernard, that defense is going to be going through him in the middle of the field. And guess what? Is anybody really concerned about it? I know I'm not, based on what I saw last year. Here's the deal, to King P's point here. There was a time, it's crazy to say this. Have you already forgotten about Tremaine Edmonds and on the Buffalo Bills? I have. Why have you forgotten about it? Because of Terrell Bernard. At the time, how many people were saying we're really going to trot out this guy that nobody knows over our first round pick that we just let walk to the Chicago Bears? I know there were a lot of people on the other end of that. They didn't want to keep Tremaine Edmonds. I know that was a pretty divisive conversation, but there were plenty of people who would have loved to have kept Tremaine Edmonds. There were plenty of people who thought the Bills defense was going to regress. And what do you know? A couple of weeks into the season, Rico, I think 99% of the people that are frequently tuned into the Bills, did you mention Tremaine Edmonds' name once last year?
We are not going to mention Tremaine Edmonds' name. People were sick of Tremaine Edmonds, and valid enough. And you know what? He's a I don't want to call him a Bears problem because the Bears might be happy with him, and he got the bag over there.
But we would have been mentioning him though. If Terrell Bernard sucked, Rico, We would have been mentioning him, wouldn't we have? Would you have gone on Twitter and said, I knew we should have kept Tremaine Edmonds?
Absolutely. We should have never got rid of him. Not one person has mentioned Tremaine Edmonds. We are good at where we're at. And this is why I wanted to find out what your thoughts were, because going from 8 to 10 captains, I can't remember exactly the number, down to 2.
Yep.
Let's start with the fact that they picked Terrell Bernard for the defensive side of the ball, where they could have went with Von Miller. Easily could have went with Von Miller. They could have went with who else is a vet guy on that squad, DaQuan Jones. But they went with the young player in Bernard, and then you got Josh Allen. So mistake to go with just 2 captains, or you know what? 2 captains is just valid. It's perfect. You got 2 voices. Let's roll. Are you in for that, or are you out for that?
I absolutely love it. I think it is a statement, and a bold one, on what these Buffalo Bills currently are. Let's face it, Rico. There isn't 8 captains on this team. There is not 8 captains on this team. There are not 8 guys on this roster right now that I think are adequately deserving of a captain spot. Last year, yeah, there sure as hell was. Veteran leadership gone. This year, what was the statement made by this announcement? We're not just going to give Von Miller a captain spot because he's the most veteran guy in the locker room. We're not going to just give Rasul Douglas a captain spot because he's one of the most veteran guys in the locker room. We're going to give the captain spot to the 2 captains on either side of the ball, where the side of the ball is going to go through. The other thing I think that this screams, this is the core of our team. We're not going to give it to guys that might be gone next year. We're not going to give it to guys that are aging out. We're not going to give it to guys, like I just mentioned with Von Miller, that are just going to get it because of their tenure in the league overall. We're going to give it to the future and the present of this organization. The future of the Buffalo Bills defense is Terrell Bernard. The future of the Buffalo Bills offense, the Buffalo Bills organization, is Josh Allen. I think that this screams awareness of what the Bills currently are. And that is, we are a brand new football team. There is not 8 captains on this team. And in order for this team to succeed, the 2 guys that we named are going to have to be one of the best at their position on both sides of the ball in order for this team to get to where they're going. I think that I think you want to talk about reading the room perfectly, Rico. I think the temperature of the room was read perfectly by this decision. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. I don't know if this is I'd have to look it up. I don't know if this is a common occurrence to have this few amount of captains, but I just thought, based on the current state of things, Rico, it would have felt weird. Would it not have felt weird if, like, Curtis Samuel was a captain? It's his first year on the team. If Matt Collins, because by the way, all we heard all offseason, like, Matt Collins, didn't it sound like he was kind of trending to be a captain based on what we were hearing about him? But at the end of the day, does it scream captain to you when the guy's been on the team for 4 months? I just thought that this read the current state of the Bills perfectly. I absolutely loved the decision. How do you feel about it?
I'm the opposite of you, my guy.
Okay.
I'm the opposite of you. I don't like this 2 captain system. Not that I don't like it. I can't say I don't like it. I prefer that there are multiple captains. Why? Because I'm not saying, and let's put it to perspective as well. He said there are 2 main captains, but we'll sprinkle in some guys.
There's a committee, a leadership committee, was it, Rico?
Yeah, that's something of that nature. Kind of like what Dion has done with the Colorado Buffaloes. He says, I don't got captains. I got leaders, and he's got different titles for everybody. So he's kind of taking that approach. But I prefer that you prop up the guy that I say is a captain, because now you're building mini leaders on the team. I like the multiple captains. I don't want to say I don't like it, but I prefer the multiple captain leadership committee rather than just the 2, because now I got 3 guys I can go to on the offensive side of the ball, whether it be Josh Allen and Deion Dawkins, right? Not having Deion Dawkins as a captain, that's kind of odd, but like,
that's a good one, actually.
You feel me? And then, you know what? Let's put in one more guy on the line. We'll say Mac Hollins, because he's so well liked on the team and they love him. So you could go 3 with those dudes. Now, to me, you're building these guys up to now be, it's not just on Josh. I can now be a vocal guy to say, yo, this is what's up, guys. This is what's up. Now, they're all leaders of men on their own respective teams. They've been the guy when they're in the collegiate level. But I like the multiple captain stance like my girl Laura said, it'll take getting used to. But we'll see how that plays out. Oh, by the way, apparently there's news on the horizon.
Yep.
The Bills. I don't know if I'm trying to look for it on the right now on Twitter, so I can kind of post it up there. But the Bills have re-signed Spencer Brown. Spencer Brown re-signed and given an extension. Excuse me, I say re-signed. Given an extension.
4-year extension for Spencer Brown.
Are you seeing this?
Yep.
Huh.
They must have loved what they saw last year, as we all did. As we all did. It's funny. Once again,
that's interesting.
Common theme on this show, but talk about one of those guys where it's like going into last year, you're like, man, Spencer Brown's going to need to show up. And that was the best offensive line the Bills have had since Josh Allen's been here. And it's going to need to be that way again, because there's less guys out on the field talent-wise in the weapon department to make plays to overcome a diminishing offensive line. Spencer Brown, give credit where credit's due. Last year, that really felt like a put-up-or-shut-up year for him. He was going to have to come out and ball out, and he really was, I think, next to Deion Dawkins. He was the best offensive lineman on the football team at any given time for these Buffalo Bills. They must have loved what they saw last year. And you're talking about a third-round guy here that winds up becoming a long-term solution for these Buffalo Bills. I mean, Rico, if we get what we got last year, which we're hoping that we do, this is a great extension for the Buffalo Bills that you hope will, result in, once again, this offensive line continuing to be a solution for Josh Allen, as opposed to what we felt like was a problem for him leading into last season.
And I wasn't sure how I felt about it, because we needed that, like you said, that big year from him last year. Mm-hmm. And I think that was enough for Brandon Beane to say, I trust him to continue to block and grow with Josh, right? And this is what I love about this too, is this is the bigger picture in this. Now you have a guy that's extended. Now you have Osiris Torrance. Now you have your lockdown piece at right tackle. Those two now can build synergy and chemistry together, right? Connor McGovern, maybe he grows into his position or becomes Granger in the near future. You never know how that plays out. And you got Deion Dawkins, the elder statesman. So the other statesman. So I now that I'm looking at it and I'm understanding the vision, obviously, and having guys that Josh Allen trust, 4-year deal. I'm sure this is a modest deal at the same time. But I thought we had no money. That's what I'm looking at. Hold on now. We just re-signed. We just extended Spencer Brown, but we couldn't bring in Justin Simmons for $8 million. I mean, damn. Come on now. But I'm not hating on it. I like it. It's a good move. It's a smart move. And now we just solidify long-term, I guess, cohesiveness for 17. Instead of having a revolving door at right tackle, and I'm not sure how this guy plays. Josh Allen's already used to this man. Josh Allen's used to his left tackle, right? He's now starting to get used to his interior. So as long as you have your bookends down, you can work on the middle and get that thing going. So I kind of like it. I think they seem to be on the same page. They seem to understand what's at stake here. Protect 17, protect your asset, and here's where we are. So kudos to the squad. Good
4 years. 4 years is great too. I feel like with an extension, I mean, the organization's lucky to get 4 years. I feel like in situations like that. I'm not seeing the financials, but I think that they only had like $3.5 million, something like that, available. So it's got to be. I'm guessing backloaded as you see oftentimes, but
yeah, for sure. Probably a very small base number, and then the back end is where it really ends out. You know what? And these contracts, I mean, this 4-year contract is cool and all, but I bet you it's going to be something like, I can get out of this deal in 2 years. But if you show me what you got, 4 years is where we're sitting at. So we'll see.
Anymore, these contracts, I don't know about you, they confuse the living shit out of me. Nothing's ever what it's reported to be. Never. Like the outs, right? The actual money, it's crazy the way that these things are structured. You really never know what the hell anyone's actually getting.
It's true, because if you looked at the deal that Brandon Ayuk got, you're thinking, oh man, this guy got 100 and he was making, I forgot what it was. It was like 130 mil, blah, blah, blah. But you heard that it was 75 guaranteed 3 years. Whoa. 75 guaranteed. Yo, man, you're getting 25 mil. All right, you got a modest deal. You didn't get that big bag that you're looking for. You actually could have got a bigger bag with the New England Patriots. But you felt like, yeah, you're too good for that, and so on and so forth. And they would have gave you a bigger bag as well. But anyway, neither here nor there. But my guy, Jonah Paritsky, my main man, this is Jonah Paritsky, actually played ball with me, who's our quarterback, the left-handed monster. What's up, Jonah? Jonah says,
no kidding.
I see 2 Buffalo Fanatics captains on my screen right. Great to see you two. Wishing you another year of top flight content creation. My guy Jonah is always a class act. I appreciate you, Jonah. You're a good man, Jonah.
I love that one. That's a great super chat. Appreciate it, Jonah.
I like that. So shall we get into this matchup?
No point in waiting any longer, Rico. Nope. We are almost there. Let's do it.
So let's ask the chat right now, because we've done the Bet US. We're sitting at what, 6.5? You said
6.5 on Bet US. Bills are favored over under a 47.
47. Okay, so it's
one of the higher of the weekend. Oh,
what's the dog's name?
Blue. My boy Blue. He's ready to talk. He's ready to talk Bills Cardinals. Let
me give you a side note. I just want to say a side note here. I have kids, and there's a lot of people that have young kids in the chat right now. I am absolutely in love with a show called Bluey. Die listening to Bluey, and I have one episode that stands out to me the most, and it's called Pass the Parcel. I die every time I listen to it. It is hilarious. That show is brilliantly written. It's got comedic. It's got stuff for the children. It's got stuff for adults, more so adults. I freaking love it. The fact that I heard your dog bark and you call them Blue made me think of Bluey. But anyway, I digress.
My little nieces and nephews, I'll sit down with them. Dude, they'll put you in a trance. I can sit and watch that stuff for hours. I mean, it's crazy the way that it's so well done, all of them.
My little guy, Zakayo, him and I will be watching. He'll walk out the room, and I'm sitting here watching and laughing my ass out. Like,
you said?
Well, yeah, Zakaya, my son Zakaya.
Oh, I thought you said he watches Caillou, because I was gonna say I grew up.
I ain't watching that little brat. Are you kidding me? Get that brat off my screen. I want nothing to do with that whiny little brat. That
Caillou built different. I grew up with Caillou, man. Caillou was falling out.
And shame on his parents, man. Anyway,
he was. No doubt. No doubt.
The Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
So let me just get off right off the rip. Do you? I don't want to say worry, but what stands out to you about these Cardinals that you know of? Because it's, beginning of the year, you don't really know much about a team. You know who they drafted. Certain pieces they have. But is there anything that stands out to you about this squad, or any individuals that stand out to you at the squad?
Well, I'll say this. I look at the Cardinals right now as a team that is almost guaranteed to be one of those. I don't mind seeing them on the schedule, right? It's looking like a favorable situation for us, but they're not going to be an easy out. Last year, they were an easy out. I think the Cardinals take a step up this year, right? You got Cliff Kingsbury gone. Jonathan Gannon comes in, takes over the head coaching spot for the Arizona Cardinals, right? You got Marvin Harrison Jr. You got a healthy Kyler Murray. And we know what happened the last time these Bills played a healthy Kyler Murray. You've seen the highlight probably once a week ever since that wound up going down.
Yep.
James Conner in the backfield. Outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray, though, this offense, as far as name recognition is concerned, there is not a whole lot going on. But I do think with a healthy Kyler Murray and with a healthy or with a newly added Marvin Harrison Jr., this offense will certainly be viable, despite not having a whole lot more around it. The last time Kyler Murray had a stud wide receiver one was DeAndre Hopkins, and that was the best the Arizona Cardinals have been with Kyler Murray. That's the best Kyler Murray has been with the Arizona Cardinals. So I think this is a team right now, they're not talented enough to be able to take that major leap. I don't think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be vying for a playoff spot, but a 4-win team last year, I think that they could be sitting around 8 or so on the outside looking in of the playoffs. They could be, considered on the outs or in the hunt, rather, maybe coming around late November. I don't think that they make it, but I think with a healthy Kyler Murray, they should be able to get around doubling their win total from last season. To me, though, Rico, defensively, these Arizona Cardinals, I just don't think have what it takes to stack up against a quarterback like Josh Allen or any of the better offenses in the league. The question is going to be, are the Buffalo Bills going to be able to exploit that? What's this offense going to look like? Because once again, for the 1,000th time, we have no damn idea what it's going to look like. But if you want to get off on the right foot, I would say going against an Arizona Cardinals defense might be the right way to do that, because I think that that's the weaker point of their team. And it's not like their offense is star-studded. It's just that they have offensively a couple of guys that you have to factor in or you're going to get burnt. I mean, Kyler Murray, man, he's not Lamar Jackson, but he's got characteristics of his game
Absolutely
that are very similar. I mean, that is a tough cover, man. These guys are going to be gassed. They're going to be gassed after the game chasing around Kyler Murray. And Marvin Harrison Jr., what I love about this, we're talking about DeMar Hamlin earlier, right? We're talking about the newness of this defense, the lack of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. This is going to be a test right off the bat for both sides. You know, the Cardinals are dying to see what they have with the guy that they're thinking is going to be the next great offensively at the wide receiver position. We Bills fans are dying to see what this new look Bills defense on the back end is going to be able to look like as well. I think it's a good first test. I think, though, the question is, Rico, to me, outside of Kyler Murray and, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., but we really can't, we can't put anything definitive out there. The guy hasn't played a snap yet. We're just assuming based on what we know and based on what we've heard and seen from him, there's no way he's not going to be at least a solid wide receiver, much less, vying to be one of the better ones in the league. To me, Rico, the question here, it's not about what the Arizona Cardinals are bringing to the table. It's what are the Buffalo Bills bringing to the table? And is what they're bringing to the table going to be lacking? Because I think the only way the Bills lose this game is in similar fashion to how they've lost previous season openers. Remember a couple of years ago against the Pittsburgh Steelers, my dad and I were in the stands and we wanted to jump off the back of it because the Bills were favored in that game. They couldn't do a damn thing, and they lost to Ben Roethlisberger in his final year. And then dare I bring up what happened last year? Once again, in the stands for that one, want to jump out of the stands for that one. The Bills somehow managed to find a way to lose to Zach Wilson last year in overtime. We talked about this last week, Rico. My biggest concern is the Bills' susceptibility to being the team that walks out there and hurts themselves in situations where they absolutely have to have these wins because they're going to matter drastically at the end of the year. When you look at this Bills schedule, you can absolutely not afford, especially week one, to drop the opener, because when you look at the opening front of this schedule, you've heard me say it a bunch of times in the offseason. We're going to know exactly what this Buffalo Bills team is 6 weeks into the year. If they drop this one, then having to play Miami, Jacksonville, Baltimore, Houston, and the Jets, you're not feeling good going into that slate at all. So this is a must. I know it's crazy to say, but looking at that slate, it's a must-win game for me in that regard, because you can afford to lose 2 of those 5 tough AFC games in that 5-game stretch and still go into the Titans game 4-2. But if you lose to the Cardinals in a game that you are 6.5-point favorites in, Rico,
it's tough.
You can't afford to drop more than one of those games. 3-3 is a whole different world than 4-2. So to me, it's more about what are the Bills bringing to the table? And is it going to be more than what we saw in week 1 last year? Because it has to be in order to get this W.
I love it. So I wanted to kind of ask you more about what your thoughts were, our weaknesses are, but we're going to get into that because this is the preview for these Cardinals. So here's what the Cardinals bring to the table, right? So they obviously they didn't finish the season great last year. I think they 4-13 or something like that, right? But they added some pieces. Marvin Harrison Jr. was a piece that they desperately needed. You need every bona fide franchise quarterback needs their A1. They need their go-to guy, especially if you have no one, right? So in comes Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, you need to combat that by bringing somebody on the edge. They bring in Darius Robinson, the edge from Missouri, Trey Benson out of Florida State. So they got themselves a runner behind James Conner, and we're going to get into that. And then obviously Max Melton was a high-rated corner in this game. They got him in the second round, right? They had a bevy of picks, right? 2 first-round picks, and they got Max Melton in the second round, Trey Benson in the third, and they've added some pieces. Now, in terms of the pieces they've added to this squad, right? Bilal Nichols happens to be one of them, defensive tackle. They don't have a pass rush. They just don't. Their pass rush is going to be mediocre at best, and even Darius Robinson's even hurt right now. So there's not a whole lot that's going to pressure and move Josh Allen off the mark. So you ask, what are the Bills going to bring to the table? Bro, air that bitch out. This is where Buda Baker's a nice player. He is. They got, Zakir White, if I remember correctly. They got some good defensive pieces, but just not enough that Josh is going to be just blown away, and I don't know what's going on. The only way we lose this game is what we did to ourselves against the Jets, giving the ball away. We can't give the ball away. We don't give the ball away. We should be able to take these guys. But to me, I want to see us put the ball in the air. Get used to your guys, right? Like, we can't lose a game like this. Get used to your guys. Get used to these guys in space, right? There's going to be moments where we need to run the ball to kill the clock, but get the ball into your guy's space. Keon, Khalil, right? Curtis Samuel, Kincaid. Bro, we got weapons. We should be able to take it to the Cardinals. Now, on the flip side, if I were to ask you what our weakness is, where you worry the most, and I'm putting you on the spot right now, but where you worry the most, that you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm prepared, because I know exactly what the Arizona Cardinals are going to do. And it's worked against, and I'm giving you a hint here, it's worked against us in the past where we're like, damn it, how are we letting this thing happen?
Aaron the ball
I forgot
out.
Trey McBride, for crying out loud. Don't forget Trey McBride is a beast. Thank you.
So you're asking, like, what do I think the Bills are most susceptible to allowing the Cardinals to take advantage of? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Sir. Correct, sir.
Well, I think it would have to be, it's got to be the back end, right? It's got to be airing the ball out the way I would see it. I think that that's probably what their strategy is going to be, because I personally think that they're more likely to succeed with Kyler Murray extending the play than they are running the ball up the middle on this Bills front four. I think, and I would think this way for several teams going in and playing against the Bills, the front end of this defense is obviously where the bread's going to get made here, because that is the more reliable part of this defense, unquestionably. That's where the guys that are going to be leading this defense to where we want them to be all year long, where they have been under Sean McDermott his entire career. That's where they all are, linebacker and up. So I think more Kyler Murray, with his ability to extend the play, being able to air it out once he gets more time and the coverage kind of breaks down, that could be an advantage, as opposed to what I think, running the ball. I don't know if that's going to be, one, an option for the Cardinals in terms of success rate, but two, I also don't know if it'll be an option based on the fact that I don't know if they're going to have the luxury of being able to run the ball as much, because I think that those offense is going to have a pretty solid day against this defense. But what are you thinking? What's, because you have one that seems pretty clear.
I kind of like what you said. Well, here's the thing. They're going to run the freaking ball.
Oh, you think
James
so?
Conner is not a joke. James Conner is not a joke. That boy was running. He had 1,000 yards rushing last year, and he had 5 yards a pop. He can run the football. So what if I'm sorry, but we are susceptible to getting the ball run on us. We've seen it before. They've done it. They've run the ball down our throats, and we have not been able to stop it. I'm telling you, there's many times I've seen my man Ed Oliver get pushed off the block like he ain't even there. DaQuan Jones happened to be away for a lot of the season, so there were moments where we got, but DaQuan Jones is a year older, right? Greg Rousseau is one of our better run defenders. Epinesa is all right. Von Miller's going to be there as a pass rush specialist. Bro, they're going to run the rock. And if you run the rock, that means you're keeping Josh Allen off the field. Not only will they run the rock, they got Kyler Murray that's dangerous as ever. And then you got to deal with Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, I'm not trying to put fear, but they're going to try to control us in the trenches. Now, they brought in Jordan Williams, right? They brought him in, so you got a bit of an improvement on there. They got Paris Johnson on the right tackle side. So they've improved the line. And you got a healthy Kyler Murray, they're going to try to run the football. So that's where we have to, like, you know what it is. You got to own the trenches. And if we can own the trenches, and like you said, put points on the back on our end, force them to be one-dimensional, then we got it in the bag. But we let them establish a run game against us, and we're getting pushed around and getting bullied in our own home, bro, that's going to be a problem. So that's where I worry, because they have a runner, and they have a mentality that is good. They're going to want to run the ball. And we have moments where we give up. We were 15th, middle of the pack last year, in giving up the run.
Yes.
So it's not like we're stellar.
No, that's the area where yes.
We give up the pass. We give up the run, where we were top 10 defensively in defending the pass, and we were top 10 in defending, in points against. So we're great in that regards, but we do bend a lot. And the problem is, if we bend too much, we may break. And we do not want to break, like you said, on week 1. I hate losing week 1. I can't tell you how much I detested losing to the Jets of all players and people week 1. Hated it. So we can't have that. So for me, number one in how we win this game, you gotta do not let them establish a run game. We can't. We cannot allow them to establish a run game because then it just muddies the waters for us. Right now, Josh can't get in the rhythm because he's on the sideline. They're controlling the clock. Gas defense is getting gas. We can't. We cannot. We got to establish that we are the bullies on the block and stop that run. James Conner cannot go off, and he has moments where he can. Somebody just mentioned that the Cardinals had a massive run game against. I can't remember who it was. They had like
49ers. That's where I wanted to go because Thunder's saying that last year, and Rico, you bring up a good point. If there is a weakness to this Bills team, it does feel like it is the run defense. And Thunder is saying literally no one stopped the Cardinals' run last year, 4th most yards on the ground. But my point to that was going to be that last year, what did that result in? 4 wins. So it's not like this is a winning formula, especially against teams that have a Josh Allen where this is where it all comes back to me. I don't know if they're going to have the luxury of running the ball. Hell, last night with Derrick Henry, the Ravens bailed on the run game when they got down by 2 scores. I think that the Bills, if they do what they should do on offense in a situation that's advantageous to them against the defense that I think that they should succeed in, I don't see how the Arizona Cardinals are going to be able to continue to try and maintain that run game. The other point here about running it a ton is that Kyler Murray didn't play the whole season last year. So you have to imagine. Yes. So you have to imagine that you prioritize the run game when you don't have Kyler Murray out on the field. I think with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray back healthy, Rico, it might feel like, hey, let's unload this thing. And I think that it's going to, the game, the way I see it going, I think it's going to lead to that game plan having to be put in place just because I don't think, I know what you're saying, keep Josh Allen off the field. But if the Bills, it's going to come down to the Bills offense. If the Bills offense scores early, then I don't think that the ability for the Cardinals to try and establish that run game like they did last year is going to be an option. I also think that, like I said, when you get Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. in there week 1, they're going to want to air it out. And I think that they, have probably schemed in going to this game, as we talked about earlier. We have no idea what this back end of the Bills defense is going to look like. And I feel like they're going to probably want to try to exploit that too. So I think the way that the game goes, I think it spells more airing the ball out. But I do hear what you're saying. Not only is it the area that I think the Bills have struggled the most in defensively, but we know the Cardinals had success with it. It's just that it wasn't a winning recipe. And the Cardinals are trying to win games this year, not go 4-13 again.
And that's a fair point. You run the ball all you want, but is it resulting in dubs? And that's what it's not. But they've got a more rounded offense, a little bit more this year. Obviously, Dortch, the slot receiver. They got Wilson, which is an up and coming player that you can match well with Marvin Harrison. So they got some decent pieces on there. And Kyler Murray, to me, I know we have all these top 10 conversations about top 10 quarterback. Kyler Murray's never mentioned in the top 10. And maybe he's not there yet. He's knocking on the door, but he's got the talent to be a top 10 quarterback. So he's knocking on that door. He's definitely top 13, maybe 14. But
I think it's health and situation, right, Rico? Like if Kyler Murray was on like the Eagles, I think he'd probably be a top 10. Like I think that he could, if he was on the Eagles or the Lions, he's been in a real tough spot and he's been hurt a lot. But I agree, when he's healthy, he's a tough guy to defend.
And he definitely will be. And this is another place that I have an issue with our team is sometimes we are undisciplined. How many moments last year where we were caught with our pants around our ankles, jumping off sides or defensive pass interference or defensive holding, just dumb, undisciplinary action, just dumb stuff, right? So we can't have that. We got to be disciplined in this game. And that's another key to this game is obviously one of them stopping the run. We got to be disciplined. No stupid penalties. And I know how we can get there because it's the beginning of the season and we're just getting the rust out. I don't want to hear that bullshit. We cannot get penalties. Yesterday's game, 13 total penalties.
That was gross.
13 total penalties. 6 for the Chiefs and 7 for the Ravens. That's it, right? So we got to minimize that. We can't be up in 10, 11 penalties, giving these guys new sets of fresh downs. We cannot. And lastly, for me, if we're going to try to win this game, 17 cannot give the ball away. Bro, those 18 turnovers that he had last year, sickening. They were sickening. And 4 of them went in the first week. I don't know what he was trying to do, but I can't have that happen again where he's trying to do too much. Now, we don't have Stephon Diggs, so there's no need for you to do too much. Everybody's supposed to eat. That's the thing right now. Everybody gonna eat, right? There's no more trust the process. You hear the new one now?
What's the new one?
Trust the progression.
Oh.
C'est moi? You got Joe Brady talk about trust the progression. All right. We be watching, man. We're gonna be watching. We want to see the progression that you're going to show us on film. The process is over with now. I guess we're trying to progress now. All right, well then show me. So turning that ball over, Mr. Josh Allen. We can't have that. We can't give up these big gashing of runs against our defense. And we got to be disciplined. Those are the 3 things in my mind how we win this game. Because we don't do those 3 things, bro, it's a wrap. I don't know if I'm missing anything. If you have something that stands out to you on how
I'm
we
just
win
dying to see. I'm just because last year, regardless of opponent, whether they were playing the Chiefs, whether they were playing the Dolphins, or whether they were playing the LA Chargers, who were on their last leg, or whether they were playing the New England Patriots, who could be the worst team in the league this year, the game plan was always the same. And the emphasis was time of possession, no matter who they were playing. The Bills were dominating in time of possession like week in and week out last year after Joe Brady took over. And that was primarily due to the uptick in running. They ran the ball more than they threw it. Josh Allen ran it more than he had all season, sizably more. And of course, that led to a great year from James Cook. So Rico, I think, I'm wondering, is the approach going to be, because last year, what happened early last year, and outside of the Jets game, early last year, they throttled the Commanders, they throttled the Raiders, and they throttled the Dolphins. I'm wondering if the
what
approach.
a game that was, by the way.
Oh my God!
The Dolphins, loved it.
That 3-game stretch there. I think it added a couple years to my life. The rest of the season took a few off, so I think it probably offset. But
yeah, you're flush.
Me, I wonder if the strategy is the same, and that's it. Doesn't matter how weak the defense is or how great the defense is. The priority here is going to be Josh Allen taking what's given to him, running the football, holding on to the ball, and establishing a solid run game with James Cook as well as Josh Allen. And then, of course, Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, and getting that whole thing, going in the backfield there. That's what I'm dying to see, because they did not, and this could be the wrinkle that Joe Brady adds, but Rico, the air raid that the Bills had on display for quite some time, that went away big time when Joe Brady took over. But guess what didn't go away? Winning ball games. So I'm real, dude. There's just so much I'm dying to see on Sunday, but that's one of the main ones I'm looking for.
And Scott Blicky said it, man. They're gonna test our safeties. There's no Jordan Poyer.
Yeah.
There's no Micah Hyde, right? We do have Rasul Douglas. We got Christian Benford. We got a good fundamentally sound defense, and we got some newbies back there. So we know what's at stake. So that defensive front needs to get after it, and we should be able to take advantage of a newly put together team, right? You got a new receiver. You got Kyler coming back. I mean, he came back on the back end of the season last year, but nonetheless, he's still got to get used to the new players on his squad. So they might take some time, to kind of get acquainted with each other. That's why I think they're going to try to run the rock and try to slow this game down, because we can put points up. I think we were averaging 27 points a game, 24 points a game. I can't remember what we were averaging last year. So they're going to try to slow us down. And how do you slow anybody down that scores points? Run the football. And that's what they're going to do. James Conner is no slouch, and nor is Trey Benson. And they got Trey McBride. So this is where
he's the one I keep forgetting. Like he's sneakily one of the best tight ends in the league.
Once week 6 happened, I was looking at his trajectory, and I was looking at his the way he evolved, bro. The targets started going up. 9 targets, 11 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets, 12 targets. Bro, they're going to try to work through him. And now you have Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm actually interested to see how these Cardinals are going to look. I would have rather them, face another team, but we're just going to have to kind of shut that shit down, and then we can see it for another day. But for us, in order to win this game, and I'm going to say it again, man, 3 points that I think Bot and I would agree with. Don't turn that damn ball over. Josh, we looking at you, bruh. We got to be disciplined. Don't be letting them get fresh set of downs when you have them off the field and ready to kick them off, and all of a sudden you giving up something. And last but not least, man, you got to stop the run, baby. You got to stop the run. Now, three things I want to ask you offensively before we get out of here, because got to press for time a little bit. But offensively, what do you want to see in this game from this offense? What are the three things that you're going to be looking for and what you want to see? It might be individuals, or you might be wanting to see something specific. Three things.
Dalton Kincaid and
Okay. I like that.
Knox. I'm dying to see what the progression is going to look like for Dalton Kincaid in year 2, especially in a situation where it just feels inevitable that the role will be expanded. And if he winds up being what we think he can be because of that expansion, he could wind up being, one of the cornerstones for this Bills offense. Frankly, he's going to have to be in order for this Bills offense to continue to be as good as it's been in recent years. So the tight end situation, I'm dying to see. I guess linked to that would also be, what's the target share going to be looking like, Rico, on Sunday? I'm very interested to see what the target share is going to be looking like spread out between Shakir, Coleman, Samuel, how much time Mac Hollins gets, and then balancing that out with the tight ends as well. I also would like to see what the situation is going to be with James Cook in the pass game as well. Are those numbers going to go up? Because I want to see that. I just hope he can catch the ball. That's what we're all hoping. So that's one of the things that I'm looking for offensively. The other thing, like I just mentioned a second ago, I'm really interested to see if the emphasis is once again going to be running the football. Is the emphasis going to be holding onto the ball, having these sustained 7-8 minute drives?
Yes.
Is that going to be the priority that it was as soon as Joe Brady took over? And then the other thing, it's a clean slate this year, and I think you alluded to it. It's a clean slate, and the biggest knock on Josh Allen is the turnovers. It's games like this where it feels like turnovers will be nothing but unnecessary. You understand in a shootout with like the Chiefs or the Ravens, right, or the Dolphins, something like that, you're more susceptible to turning the ball over. It's games like this where it just feels like, and it's similar to last year in week 1, all of those turnovers against the Jets. I know the Jets have a terrific defense, but almost every one of those turnovers were because of Josh Allen forcing the football. I think he got better at that as the season went on last year. And I think that needs to be a priority this year when you have an offense that visibly, on paper and on the field is not what it was a season ago. I don't think the Bills can afford to turn the ball over as much as they did, because I just think that with such a new offense,
yes,
you just don't want to give up opportunities that you don't know are going to be coming in abundance like they were, in teams prior. So a clean slate for Josh Allen. One thing I'd love to see right out of the gates, last year out of the gates, Josh Allen had 4 turnovers. I'd love to see a turnoverless game with an abundance.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'd love to see that, Rico. And I really, above anything, to encapsulate the whole offense into one thing, I'm just excited to see what Joe Brady's got for us with a full offseason here in his first year as the full-time offensive coordinator. And we're going to see a lot of the same, or are we going to see additions that we don't see coming? I'm just so intrigued to see what this offense looks like on Sunday.
I like every one of those things you said, and I'll add to that. When talking about the offense, I'm looking specifically at Joe Brady. So Joe Brady, this is your first year as offensive coordinator. You're full time. That's your team. You run things. You run things now, my guy. So what it comes down to me is, like as you said, target share. I want to see what his game plan is going to be. Are you going to be like, let's bully these guys and run the rock, or is this going to be like, let's get these guys involved? I want to see, is this going to be more of a balanced look? Are you trying to light these guys up? I'm curious as to what philosophy he's going to go with. I'm very interested. Is it going to be a lot of double tight end set? You want to get Dawson Knox involved? Is this going to be bully them in the trenches? I want to see what Joe Brady is going to be key to this game, to see how he goes about this. Is he going to be in Josh Allen's ear and be like, yo, let's see Khalil Shakir just spread his wings and let's see what he's got. So Joe Brady, I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of game plan he's got going for Josh and the rest of the offense. Let me go forward more specifically. I'm very curious to see what James Cook is going to look like. I want to see what he's going to look like. You had 1,100 yards last year. I didn't even realize you had 1,100 yards.
I know.
This guy's slated to have a huge year. Hold on to the football, and I want to see if it's one of those 15 to 22 type carry games, or is it going to be one of those situations where this is airing the ball out and we'll see if we can catch it. I want to see that same, like I said in early, several shows ago, I want to see an encore from James Cook. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. I need an encore, and I need you to set the tone. set the tone, baby. That's what I'm looking for. And last but not least, man, we talked about Xavier Worthy at the start of the show, and this is it's apropos how I end it. I want to see something from Keon Coleman. I need to see something from Keon Coleman. We said F for first round draft pick. We're going to go into the second, pick up some picks, but we're going to get this guy right here. We let Adonai Mitchell go to the Colts, and he's looking mighty nice with the Colts. So Keon Coleman was your guy. Showcase him. I'm looking at the depth chart, and I'm seeing Mac Hollins ahead of him. I don't know how much I should look into that. Mac Hollins is ahead of him, and I see obviously Khalil Shakir and all that good stuff. No, bro. No. Let's cut the crap. Cut the BS. I need to see something from my guy Keon Coleman. Will he have some bumps and bruises along the way and some learning curve? Of course he will. But this is a great moment to show your fans at home that, yo, we made a right decision by grabbing this guy. We made a right decision. I don't want to hear, you know what I'm saying, 2 targets and that's the end of it. Nah, bro. That was our first pick. That was our first pick. You better put some mustard on that and give it to him. So
that's why I'm so intrigued about the target share, Rico. Like, what's the emphasis on what he's bringing to the game going to be for Joe Brady? That's the other thing. Like not only do you want to see him produce, how many opportunities are they going to give him to produce? That's what I'm interested to see.
Well, I mean, listen, they say everybody's going to eat. Then we about to find out how many people are going to eat and what are you serving? What are we serving? And we know Josh Allen's a chef, boy. He's a chef, so he's going to serve it up. And,
the interesting thing too I'm looking for is when they get into the red zone, is he going to be like the first target?
This is what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm looking forward to. We know we can get through the green zone and move the rock. We got Khalil. We got Curtis. We have James Cook. When it comes, because we struggled in the red zone. So we need to get back to prominence. And that's why Keon Coleman was drafted over, in my opinion, Xavier Worthy. Red zone threat. Because at the end of the day, you can move the ball all you want, but if you can't put points on the board when you get into the red zone, because that's when things tighten up, we got a problem. We absolutely have a problem. So Keon in the red zone, I'm looking forward to seeing what Keon does. So Joe Brady, what are you cooking for us? What are you cooking up for us? You know what I'm saying? James Cook, we need an encore. We need to put pressure on you so you can lead us. And I want to see something happen to Keon Coleman. On the defense side of the ball, bro, I love McDermott. I think he's going to have this team tightened up, ready to go. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is no slouch. They didn't draft that brother with a top 5 pick for no reason. So how do we bracket him and take him away and let the other guys try to do something? So this will be very interesting. That's the way I see it. But in this, at the end of it, Bills should win. I like the Vegas the odds. I think we're going to be more than that. I think we do. I think we win by 10.
So let's go there right now. I'm glad you're doing this. This is where I want to go. Let's go over to BetUS right now. Let's lock in our predictions. What's the final score? I heard you just say 10. So what are you thinking? You think the Bills cover? What's the final?
Ooh, 27-14, 24-14, 27-14, 24-14. I say 24-14.
So you have the over hitting by a point, and you have the Bills covering.
I like it. 24-14. Give that to me.
I don't mind that. I don't think
put some money on it.
I don't know what it is. I don't think the Bills cover. I think that the Bills win this game.
It's going to be tight.
27-21. And they don't cover by the hook. I think the Bills win by 6. The Cardinals cover the 6.5. And I think the over hits. I think the defense for the Bills, I think it might take a bit. I could see Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. getting off to a solid start against the defense that I think might take a bit to get their feet underneath of them in terms of the pass game. First game. Offensively, I think the same argument can be made, but I just think that the Bills should be able, with Josh Allen, of course, regardless of how new this offense is, to be able to take advantage of a Cardinals defense that I think, early on here is going to be one of the more weaker defenses that they go up against. So I think both sides are going to be able to get into the 20s in this one. But I think that at the end of the day, the difference is going to be Josh Allen. And I think that difference is a 6-point margin of victory. So I will take the Bills 27-21. I could never bet on the Cardinals in any capacity. So what I'll do here is I'm going to place a slight bet on the over.
You swayed me just a little bit to change my
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I'm sticking to 24 points. And I'll give them a field goal. They're going to get in zone. They're going to hit a field goal. So 24-17. You know what? I might even stick to 10 point. 27-17, 24-17, around that mark. But if I'm going to pick one, I'll pick 24-17 Bills. I'm sticking to that one because I'll give him a field goal. I'll give him a field goal, give him a little respect, and we'll go from there. But that's what I look at, man.
I'm gonna lock in $50, by the way, on the over. If you want to tell me 150% sign up bonus right now on BetUS, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Just use the promo code YouTube150, $50 on the over. Rico, I'll tell you this, back to your prediction. You got the Bills covering, you got the over hitting with me as well. I'll tell you this. I would be very, very satisfied with the Buffalo Bills defense holding the Cardinals to under 20 points on Sunday. I think for a first game outing with a new back end here, a lot of new pieces, I would love to see the first game of the year with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. being held to under 20 points. I think it'd be a great sign moving forward.
Dude, I'm having deja vu right now. I'm having a score put up, and I'm having you saying exactly what you just said.
Really?
And I didn't feel good about it with this deja vu feeling. And this person putting up 24-23, I hate that you had to do that to me, first and foremost. But I'm going to stick to my guns, and I feel like this team is the better team. I think we're the more polished team. And when when push comes to shove, who do you trust with the ball in their hands last? I mean, I didn't work out for us the last time. I was going to say Josh Allen with the ball in his hands last, but Kyler Murray was like, Mario Addison, sit your ass down. Let me heave this thing. And D-Hop coming down with it. And most folks might say they got a way better receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. So we got to make sure that we are on our – well, we better not be on our bullshit. That's what I'm going to put out there. So I'm going to leave it at that. So
should we tell the folks what we have in store for them Sunday? Not just including Buffalo Bills football, but we got you loaded up here on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel, and we can't wait because we are coming in hot with the first preseason game – or excuse me, the first pregame. Preseason's freaking done. I don't even want to. I can't believe I just said that. We have the first pregame show of the year right here where you're at on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel right before the game kicks off. When the game does kick off, you already know the 2024 debut of the Kingpin. He's got you live with game reactions all throughout the full duration of
shot time.
And I hope he's putting them back heavily on Sunday.
He better be. We need points because that's how we get him sauced up on there.
Exactly. I want him total liquid lunch for Pierre on Sunday afternoon. That's all I want. And then we got you with the best. We got you with the post-game show immediately following Bills Cardinals. So we got you jam-packed, loaded up on a Sunday afternoon. We cannot wait for it. And we and we know you can't wait for Bills football as we can either, man. Rico, it's here. I'm stoked.
Yo, we are stoked. By the way, wifey is on my tail right now. She is on my ass, and she's like, "Yo,
Jenna, what the hell? Where are you guys going?"
He said, "Where are you guys going?"
My dad's birthday.
Oh, what's the plan?
What's the plan?
What?
What's the plan? He said.
I have to go pick up supper and end up at my dad's.
I hate the word supper.
Dinner.
Oh, you know where I stand on that.
We gotta go pick up supper. I hate that.
It sends shivers down my spine. I hate it.
Supper. Supper's ready. Knock it off. Yo, the food's ready?
Hurry up.
Cool.
All right.
Supper's ready.
Last week it was camping. This week it's the
this house is always busy, man. There's always something going on in this house, bro.
I'm telling you, as you can tell, I'm not in the Z-Bot studios. I'm at home, so I got to go do stuff with my folks as well. So hey, on that note, much love. Thanks everybody for tuning in on a Friday afternoon. And like we said, we got you loaded up Sunday afternoon. We can't wait for it on your way out.
Give me that music, man. Cue that music.
Oh, that's right. What am I doing? On the way out, like button, subscribe button, 150% sign up bonus through BetUS using the promo code YouTube150 up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. That's Rico and Jenna. I'm Z-Bot. We're out of here. We'll see you on Sunday. Peace.
Let's go.